Hello friends and welcome to this lesson. Now today let's learn something very important which is known as persuasive business messages. Now what is a persuasive message? A persuasive message is something through which I want to persuade people to take some action. I want to persuade them to some line of thinking. I want to persuade them to do something which they probably wouldn't have done otherwise. So that's why persuasion is required, so that if they are moving on this path, I am able to make them willingly change their path and come with me and move on the other path. So persuasion is used in many different circumstances for many different purposes. Let us learn how to write persuasive messages. So, my dear friends, the objectives of this chapter are simple. We need to understand the organization of persuasive messages. We need to get some idea about different types of persuasive requests. And then we'll also look at how to write a persuasive sales letter. After this, I'm going to give you an assignment in which you are going to create something persuasive. And then I'm also going to give you a solution to the task that I give you. So let's look at this. Persuasive messages we send with very clear cut, with very specific objectives. We want the receiver to believe, to support, and to act in favor of the matter, whatever the matter may be. So we would like to inform them in such a way, we would like to persuade them in such a way that they start favoring our request. They start favoring the matter. They start favoring our course of action, because we want them to take a course of action. So now a persuasive message, again, we were seeing in good news and bad news messages also that there are two ways of organizing a persuasive message similar to good news and bad news. Now there we saw there is a direct plan and there is an indirect organization plan. So here too you have both the plans. If you think your persuasive request is going to face less opposition, then use the direct request organization. If you think your persuasive request is going to face a lot of opposition, then go for the indirect request organization plan. Alright, and let us look at both these plans. Let's see what a direct plan is and what the indirect plan is. So direct plan is simply for direct requests where the main idea, request or question is mentioned here. Simple. Say I work for an organization and today I am going to address a meeting of my people there in the conference room, and I need to tell them that all those who have not registered for the second dose of the vaccine after having taken the first dose, they must register for it, and HR is going to help them register and find slots. So they must do so immediately. Now this is a direct request. And then we make another request. All those who have not even had their first vaccination done need to do it within the next 72 hours. Otherwise, they would not be allowed to come to office. You understand? So the main idea, then the explanation that friends, this is important because we are already facing a severe crisis for the past 2 years. We've had a couple of waves and we cannot take the health of everyone for granted. And then we'll close politely by saying that we expect all of you to cooperate 100% in this matter. You understand? So this is a direct request. Now here there may be some opposition, but that opposition will have no meaning because this is almost a mandatory thing. But still we have given it the form of a request. We do not want to sound dictatorial. We don't want to sound dictatorial. So we have taken this premise and we are helping them to heed our request. Agree to what we are saying. Now, indirect. Now, whenever there is going to be solid opposition to something, in that case, we are going to use the indirect request organization plan, and for more complex requests too, which would be difficult for people to understand, bit out of the ordinary. So we'll have an explanation, a buffer opening. We'll have the core of the request, question, concern, evidence, illustration, everything. There'll be a lot of discussion in the middle part, and then courteous close with the action desired. So here, in all the things which are a little more complex or which may have greater opposition from the audience, we are advised to build more in the main body so that people can feel convinced. But remember this, friends, whatever you're going to build in the main body has to be very, very sensible. Unless it is sensible, connected to your request and actually explains your request and takes it forward, people will not heed your call to action. So this is very important. Now let's look at persuasive letters or memos which follow the IDA theory. Mostly, advertising. This theory comes from advertising. What is IDA? So, attracting the reader's attention, A. Arousing the reader's interest, I. D. Creating a desire in the reader, and A. The action that you want them to take. So this is known as the IDA plan. This is a persuasive plan, and this is mostly used for advertising or for writing persuasive sales letters. So if you have to write a persuasive sales letter, then what you need to do is you need to write it using these 4 things. You have to grab the attention of your audience in the beginning. Then you need to arouse their attention, interest. Then you create in them a desire for your action to fulfill that desire. So whatever you want to create a desire for will be connected to the call to action. So that is why then you will make your call to action, and people will be expected to fall in line, persuaded to do what you wanted them. So now let's look at some of the persuasive requests. So friends, all persuasive requests are stuff where you are asking for an investment. What kind of an investment? The biggest investment, of course, anyone can make anywhere is their time. Or some other contributions, sending people, an organization. So you ask an organization, sir, could you send 4 people today for this thing? We are having this drive here and we'll need. So personnel contributions. So time or personnel. Requests about products or services. So somebody requests you for some products or services. That's also a persuasive request where they are requesting. Requests for claims. So if you have a complaint and somebody is making a claim, or somebody wants an adjustment, so that too is a persuasive request, because that person has to persuade you to accept the claim and to make that adjustments. If you request for change in policy, now sometimes in a democracy you have people who use all means to persuade the government for some policy change. Sometimes people also go in for certain public protests, and sometimes the protests may go on for very long, but that's another way they are using to request for changes in policy. Request for change in performance, yes, this is very, very important. So when you have your people and you want them to change their performance, when you want them to work better and things, so there also you request. And request from employer to a reference. A reference is a person who will give his or her reference for you. So employer may send a request to a reference. Now I am a reference for many people, many of my faculty members as well as my students, and so I keep getting requests that how was this person has applied here for this job, what did he do when he was working with you or under you, what was he in this, what was he in. So each one will have their own format to get my reference. And request from employee to a reference. So a lot of times when you want to ask some reference, sir, will you be my reference? Sir, I am giving your name, email ID and phone number as my reference. So that is also a persuasive request. So my dear friends, you have understood that for persuasive requests to become fruitful, you need to actually be able to persuade. That's a very, very important thing. And you can use the IDA formula in order to persuade people to heed your call to action. And these are some of the persuasive requests that are there. Now I am going to give you a task on persuasion in one of these classes, and you would be creating something persuasive, and then I'll also give you a solution. So friends, thank you very much for watching this lesson. I hope you have enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next. Until then, all the best.